सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। रामो राजमणिः सदा विजयते रामं रमेशं भजे। रामेणाभिहता निशाचरचमू रामाय तस्मै नमः। रामान्नास्ति परायणं परतरं रामस्य दासोऽस्म्यहं। रामे चित्तलयः सदा भवतु मे भो राम मामुद्धर। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। Hari Om everyone. In the last session, we had some food for thought. We will start from there. And the purpose of doing this reflection was just to get an opportunity to clarify our understanding about meditation. Many a times it is understood in different ways. So when you have a very specific question, you end up discussing only on that topic. So the first reflection question was, does meditation give liberation? And I'm glad many of you discussed this question. Before asking the question about meditation, like here, you can ask, what does meditation mean? Rather than asking that question, we should ask, what does liberation mean? And once that is clear, the answer will become, it will make more sense what meditation gives and what it does not give. So in Advaita Vedanta, no matter which text of Vedanta we study, the fundamental definition of bondage, because if you want to know what is the meaning of liberation, we should know what is bondage. So what is the meaning of bondage? What is considered as bondage in Vedanta? Not knowing our true nature is called bondage. And then there are repercussions of that. Mixing up that Ananda Swarupa with something else and taking myself to be something which is not me. So that is our fundamental definition of bondage. This we have seen before also. In simple words, ignorance is called bondage. So if ignorance is bondage, what would be liberation? Knowledge would be liberation. So if ignorance is bondage, the antidote of bondage, which is in the form of ignorance, is knowledge. Knowledge about what? What we saw in 15th to 20th verse. You know, the distinction between Sakshi and Ahankara. And not only a finite understanding of this Sakshi, but the same Sakshi is all pervading. Clarity about nature of Atman. And this conviction that ahankara in this world is an appearance in I, Sakshi. That is called as liberation. So, fifth verse of Drigdarsha Viveka, when we chant, it should, the conviction should be such that I am talking about myself. No deti nastametyesha navruddhim yati nakshayam. I am not born, I will not die, and I don't undergo any modification. So this, when it becomes our own nature, or this becomes our own conviction that this is who I am, that is called as liberation. But the question is, will this liberation come in time? Is it something that, that on certain day, at certain time, can we say that, I became Sakshi? So then Vedanta says, we don't believe in liberation coming at certain point of time. Meaning what? Even while we were ignorant, we were already Sakshi. We were already of the nature of consciousness. What knowledge does is, it removes erroneous notions. It removes that which we have erroneously included in Sakshi. So where did we start? What is bondage? Ignorance is bondage. Liberation is knowledge. Now the question is, how will knowledge come? Knowledge will not come by any other means other than Shravanam. Shravanam means listening clearly to Shastra. Thoroughly understanding what is the essence of Shastra. What is the essence of Vedanta. So then, when we go back to this question, we will realize what gives liberation. Giving liberation is also secondary way, a compromised way of saying. What gives liberation is Shravanam. And Shravanam gives this knowledge of what is our true nature. And until knowledge has thoroughly taken place, until that point, we should continue doing Shravanam. Because sometimes there are two spectrums, On one side, a sadhaka might feel, oh, why all this, listening to Vedanta, so much of study, let us go and meditate. That is one spectrum, one end of the spectrum. Another is not putting forth any effort to quieten the mind, means actually meditate, not putting any effort in that one. That is another extreme. So we should not go to either extreme. We should understand the purpose of what is doing what. So without Shravanam, we start saying that, I will get liberation through something else. Generally in our Vedanta example is given, if we are thirsty and we started drinking water, and let us say after drinking one glass, our thirst has not gone, that means what? We have to drink more water. We should not change the method of quenching thirst. Means you cannot say that, because water is not quenching my thirst, let me go and do something else. No, let me go and run. So that won't quench the thirst. Method is the same. We have to do it until that result very clearly takes place. So does meditation give liberation? It is what is liberation? First understand what is bondage, what is liberation, and what gives liberation, or what tells us that we are already liberated, is Shravanam. The example is very helpful here. That snake rope example, I don't know who came up with it. It looks like a very ordinary example, but very, very powerful if you can understand the depth of that example. So before, or while I am seeing that snake on that rope, is it that before I got this knowledge that that this is not a snake, this is a rope, before somebody came and put that torchlight, can we say that before that point that rope had actually become the snake, and only after you put that light, that rope went back to its original nature, that snake disappeared and rope went back to its original nature? We cannot say that, because even while we were thinking that this was a snake, it was the rope alone. Because I was afraid of that snake, that is true. And what knowledge did, it took away that fear. I came to know that it is only rope which is there. But we cannot say that that rope was actually affected by that snake. In the same way here also, when we say Shravanam gives liberation, what we mean to say is, it tells us that we were already liberated. We were untouched by any of these conditionings that are appearing. Just like that snake is ever untouched by that illusory, or that rope is ever untouched by that illusory snake. Okay, so this is the first point, that knowledge of Brahman is what we need. Brahman we already are, and knowledge of Brahman will come through Shravanam alone. We should not lose our faith in that sadhana. That is the primary sadhana. What is the purpose of meditation will come later. And another thought or question sometimes we hear, discuss with other people. We feel doing Shravanam is theory and doing meditation is practical. So here again, we should be clear about the fundamentals of Vedanta. What we are trying to seek is Atma, Sakshi. And Sakshi is not another inert object. It is not something which is different from me, for which I have to know about it first, gain theoretical knowledge first, and then do practical to go there and get it for myself. Sakshi is Chaitanya Swarupa. It is not an inert object. Any inert object, we have to put forth effort to know it. These are all lot of mananam points. This sentence only we can dwell on for sufficient time. Effort has to be put to know only for inert objects. And Sakshi is of the nature of consciousness. It is self-revealing, so there is no additional effort needed. And it is not different from me, so I don't have to go somewhere to get it. Like here, if you hear the statement, Bahamas is a very beautiful place. Now, just by hearing that, we have not seen for ourselves how beautiful Bahamas is. So we'll have to go to Bahamas, do practical, and then benefit from that place. So first, Bahamas is an inert place somewhere, and it is different from me. So I have to do theoretical listening and then do practical to go there and see it. But here we should understand, for Atma or for Sakshi, neither of it is true. It is already experienced, it is aparoksha, and it is anubhuta swarupa, anubhuti swarupa. Aparoksha means non-different from me, and always experienced. Anubhuti swarupa only it is. Even while we are speaking, even while we are interacting in the world, our attention might be outside. And the whole purpose of, meditation, or, any of these things that we are seeing, is to shift our attention to that Sakshi. Okay, so that is this point, that it is not appropriate statement to say that Shravanam is theory and meditation is practical. Then what is the purpose of meditation? Why are we studying all these things now then? If, Shravanam only can give knowledge. So then again, we should understand the context and what is the role of this meditation practice. What is it going to cure for us? Any medicine or something that we take, we ask, right, what is it going to do for me? Then only we understand whether we have to take it or not. So meditation's purpose is, after having heard that I am of this nature of Sakshi, after having done Mananam, after having dwelt upon this fact that I am not this body, logically I can prove that this body undergoes modification, this body was not there at certain time. So that which comes and goes, that which undergoes modification, it is not me. In spite of doing that, time and again, or for most of the time, I end up spending my day as though I am this body. Means what? With this notion of reality given to body. Because transactions we will have to do as body only. Right? There we should not bring Advaita Vedanta. So while saying or referring to ourselves, we will use our name. All transactions will go just as it would go on in normal circumstance. But the point is, what is our understanding about ourselves? Do we still have this strong notion that I am this body, or are we able to own up our true identity? And how do we respond to different circumstances, situations, experiences that come in our life? Do we respond to it always as the body or the mind? Or are we able to let go of it on the strength of knowledge? Simple example I'll give, and then we'll move on. Let us say we are with a group of people. And over there, we presented some idea. And right there, everybody rejected our idea. They said, what kind of this will not work. Now that idea, it depends on, our love with that idea depends on how strongly we are identified with our intellect. If our identification is so strong to say that this is the best intellect ever, whatever idea has come here is the best idea. If that is our thought, then anybody saying anything to that idea is a direct attack on this identification of ours. We will never say, I am the intellect. But if somebody challenges our intellect, challenges our opinion, that is when we get, the wrong button gets hit, the trigger button. So this is called as Viparita Bhavana. What we call as Viparita Bhavana, it's a technical word. Viparita means thinking myself to be opposite of something that I have gotten conviction in. So my conviction that I have gained, or my knowledge which is there, tells me that I am Sakshi. I am not this intellect. I am that Sakshi which is illumining all intellects. But on other hand, I keep identifying with one intellect and living my life. And until that goes on, we will not be able to benefit from this knowledge that I am Ananda Swarupa Brahma. Ananda is what we were seeking. Our first class started with pursuit of happiness. And now we are at a point where Vidyananda Swamiji is giving us antidote for removing this Viparit Bhavana. Knowledge is not coming in meditation. Knowledge that I am of the nature of Sakshi is not coming in meditation. It is coming in Shravanam. In meditation, I am keeping everything aside and playing that same Shravanam tape again in my head. With understanding, huh? It is not japa kind of repetition. So I hope these three questions were helpful, and later we will see if there is anything more to add. So in the last class we had seen Drushyanuviddha Samadhi, where nothing too much to much to do, directly shift attention from thoughts to Sakshi. Not too much of understanding of the word is needed at this point. Understanding means, because the next one, what we saw, is called Shabdanuviddha. Right? So that was regarding I am Asanga, I am Satchidananda. Those words need more understanding. So the first step is just to directly shift attention from thoughts to Sakshi. That is called as Drushyanuviddha, because Drushya support we are taking. And for us to help us stay at Sakshi, it is called Shabdanuviddha. Means it is not, vague understanding of I am witness of my thoughts. Very clear understanding should be there, what we mean by Sakshi and what is our own true nature. Meditating on glory of Sakshi. And when this is done for a sufficiently long time, Savikalpa Samadhi is what we can practice. That leads into Nirvikalpa. Okay, so we can aim and sincerely practice only Savikalpa Samadhi. Savikalpa means meditator, meditation, and object of meditation. These three things. Meditator, meditation, and object of meditation. So this was something that we were about to see in the last class. We'll go over it quickly today. All of us might be at different stages of meditation. Some of us might be just starting. Some might be in intermediate level. Some might be long-time meditators who can sit for longer durations and have done sufficient Shravanam. But Patanjali Maharshi Ji gives some pitfalls, that can come in our way, and it's always helpful for us to go over them. Very, very practical ones. And when you start seeing them, you feel like, he's talking about us only. So first he says is Vyadhi. So the Sanskrit sutra is up over here, and the transliteration is what I have taken down. So first one, what are the general obstacles that we can have in our meditation practice? Solution also we will see later. So first one is Vyadhi. Means morning, whatever time this sadhaka has set, right at that time, body doesn't feel like doing. Some kind of sickness comes. Either headache, backache, some kind of physical. Next one is Sthana. That is laziness. Not feeling like coming out of the bed. Oh, in the morning, 6:30 class is there, or I have to do meditation at that time. Feel who wants, who does meditation at this time? Later I will do at around 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock becomes breakfast time. After that, we say, let's go to work. After coming from work, I will reserve some time for meditation. So like this, it gets pushed and pushed and pushed. Lot of things are there, but these ones are well known. Samshaya means doubt. When we are seated at the seat of meditation, when we bring some thought, some Vedantic idea, we end up in doubt. How is this true? How am I not the body? How am I not the mind? I feel mind is sentient. Doubts can come. Pramada is inadvertence. A lot of things will repeat, so we don't have to struggle too much in distinguishing them, but we should just look at all these things, whatever Patanjali Maharishi has given us. Means letting go of meditation practice for some days, for few weeks. That is called as inadvertence in the practice of meditation. Alasya means lack of enthusiasm. Whatever we start new, we are very enthusiastic, New Year resolution, meditation, everything. But gradually that enthusiasm keeps going down. Avirati, right when you sit for meditation, mind starts craving for something. What is there for lunch today? What is there for breakfast? Some thought will come, it will start craving, which will make us get up from the seat of meditation. Bhranti darshana is false perceptions. It could be in any way. Some visual effect we saw, and that sidetracked our purpose. We are again and again trying to get that experience back again. That is called as Bhranti darshana. Alabdha bhumikatva, very popular obstacle for all sadhakas, is that we get dejected because of our inability to focus. And sometimes we start feeling, oh, there is nothing great about this meditation. Because anyway, mind is not getting focused. Why simply do it? That is called as alabdha bhumikatva. Last two are similar, anavasthitatva and chitta vikshepa. Means mind is unable to settle down even for a short time. And chitta vikshepa is agitations of the mind. That is also bothering this sadhaka now. So many are listed. First thing that we can get solace from looking at this list is Patanjali Maharishi already knew about this fact so many decades ago. What it shows is these things are bound to come in our practice. Means we should not get disheartened if these things we see in ourselves. But most importantly, there are solutions for all of these. And every day of our practice will not be the same. Those who have been practicing for a long time, you will realize that some days it will be very easy to quieten the mind, very easy to think about nature of Atman. But on some days, mind will just, keep wandering here, there. So you will realize some of these obstacles they come on, come for certain times and then go away. All of these, now we are looking at solution. All of these, if you want to categorize into one group, where are all of these, obstacles coming from? It is most likely from tamoguna. All these things which are there, right? Sthana, pramada, alasya, they are expressions of tamas, which is there in us. Vikshepa is expression of rajoguna. So if somebody is sincerely striving to have a successful nididhyasanam practice, then our importance in living a sattvic life, sattvic lifestyle, that should be high. The first step is importance. according to what we give importance, so will be our lifestyle. Keeping away those sources which ended up being another distraction in meditation. All of that will be helpful over here. In Patanjali Yoga Sutra, Patanjali Maharshi ji gives, very simple solution. He says all of these things can be removed by only one solution. And that, he says, is Nama Japa. Take Bhagwan's name with lot of devotion, with lot of hope that Bhagwan will give me the strength and make my mind stronger. Even with that thought, if we do japa, Patanjali Maharshi ji says all of these obstacles can be addressed. And the last one is taking smaller steps, not having over expectation from ourselves. That, first day we start meditation and then suddenly we become Raman Maharshi ji, like one who can be always there in Atma Vichara. It will take us time, but we should make sure we are on the right path. Having lot of importance, Mahatva Buddhi, in living a spiritual life. Because it is not only having Mahatva Buddhi in that short period of time when we are doing meditation, that is also needed, but our other, day that we are living, how that is around Sattva, that will contribute a lot towards removing all these obstacles. There is a story of 3 brahmacharis. Generally, sometimes it is said 3 Zen monks who were sitting down for meditation. And they wanted to put some kind of carrot, to say that who has mastered this meditation? Who is the one who is best at this meditation practice? So they said, we will not speak. We will sit in our meditation posture. And whoever does not speak is the winner. Whoever is able to stay quiet for the longest time is the winner. So all 3 of them went and sat in meditation posture. 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour passed. 5 hours. Then gradually there was a lamp just like this one. And 5 hours means generally that flame will start going down. And this monk who was there, the Zen monk, he was sitting, and one of them saw that this, flame was going down. And suddenly he realized that if it goes away, then it will be all dark. We won't be able to get up and do things. So he quickly shouted and said, hey, take care of that flame. It's going away. The second person who was sitting next to him said, oh, you spoke. Were we not supposed to speak? And third person said, look at both of you. No control over your speech. I'm the only one who did not speak. The point of this story is, obstacles can come in several ways. When we sit down for meditation, even this thought that, oh, now I'm having a good meditation practice, will become another obstacle. So we should be very careful and always take help of Bhagwan in any practice that we are doing. So now Vidyaranya Swamiji spoke about meditation inside. Inside meaning with our eyes closed. Drushyanu-viddha, Shabdhanu-viddha and Nirvikalpa. Now he is going to talk about meditation outside with eyes open. Same distinction is there, Savikalpa and Nirvikalpa. Meaning also is the same. Of Savikalpa means where triad is there and Nirvikalpa means where there is non-perception of triad. We just sing the 23rd shloka. Huh? Savikalpo nirvikalpaha samadhir dvivido hrudi drushya shabdanuviddhena savikalpa punardvida. In Savikalpa again has two categories, Drushyanuviddha and Shabdanuviddha. Now he is going to tell something different. First we saw meditation inside. Now we are going to see meditation when we are interacting in this world outside, going around with our eyes open. Drushyanuviddha here means shifting attention from objects to Brahma. And what is this Drushyanuviddha? It is outside Drushyanuviddha. Huh? Previous one was inside. And that was shifting attention from thoughts to Sakshi. And here it is shifting attention from objects to Sakshi. Brahma and Sakshi are the same. And second one is called Shabdanuviddha. Shabdanuviddha is the same method where you take words to own up the nature of Brahma. Okay, so this introduction is only so that we can again crystallize what Vidyaranya Swamiji is giving in these verses now. Verse which is going to come next is the fourth type of meditation. Shloka number 27. Drushyanuviddha. Shabdanuviddha is the fifth type of meditation. And Nirvikalpa is the sixth type. Total 6 meditations are given towards these last few verses. Hrudeva bahya deshepi yasmin kasminscha vastuni samadhiradya sanmatrat nama rupa pruthak krutihi Hrudeva bahya deshepi yasmin kasminscha vastuni samadhiradya sanmatrat nama rupa pruthak krutihi. So Hrudi Iva, just like we explained in Hrudi, means meditation inside, Bahya Deshe Api, in the outside world also, Yasmin Kasminscha Vastuni, in any object that you want to do, you want to choose, we can do our Samadhi Abhyasa. Samadhi Adyaha means the first Samadhi, Drushyanuviddha, Savikalpa Samadhi, which is outside. That we can do. How do we do it? Sanmatrat Namarupa Prutakruti. From this Sat, from existence, remove Namarupa. Vidyaranya Swamiji said, Yasmin Kasminscha Vastuni. So here again, caution is given to the sadhaka. Don't pick those objects to begin with in which we have Raga Dvesha. Some person is there towards whom we have too much of attachment or Dvesha. And that person we take to do this Samadhi Abhyasa. Nama Rupa and Satchidananda, we are doing it. We will end up meditating on that person. Object also. When we are going around, don't take those objects where we know that our mind has a weakness for that. So then which kind of object should we take? Best is take objects from nature. Last class we had this question, right? Why does nature give inherent sense of peace? So whichever thing is vast, we can never say that thing is mine. In that movie On a Quest, there is one scene which is very beautiful. Gurudev is standing with Taponji Maharaj and he is asking the question, how can we enjoy without getting attached? So Taponji Maharaj shows the Himalayan mountains, He says, do you see those mountains? Gurudev says, yes. Are you enjoying the beauty of those mountains? He says, yes. Do you own them? Or, are you attached to that mountain? Then he says, no. Means what? We can enjoy something even without being attached to it. But in this example, what we should take is, whenever we take objects from nature, right? You are going for a walk, or even in your backyard, some tree is there. Taking that object and then doing this samadhi abhyasa there. Okay, whichever object is infinite, there we won't have, or whichever object belongs to nature, and objects like mountains which are huge, there we won't have aham buddhi. So they are safe objects to start with. What should we do there? 20th shloka, we had seen something, bring that understanding back in our mind. That every object has 5 things. Asti bhati priyam, rupa, nama. These are amsha panchakam. But adyatrayam brahma rupam. Asti bhati priyam belongs to Brahma, and nama rupa belongs to that object. And nama rupa, as we saw in that verse, is not another physical thing. It is merely a word, and it is merely a form. What is actually there is the substratum only. Several examples we had seen, we won't go over them again, but I'll just remind you the name, like the wave and water. So wave is only a name, it's only a form. It is not independent of water. In the same way, when we look at objects, we should be able to bring back that connection, that creation that I am seeing is an appearance in consciousness. It has emerged from consciousness. It is nothing but consciousness, and it will merge back into consciousness. And that consciousness, I am. Once this understanding is clear, we don't have to constantly keep doing this kind of, connection, this kind of repetition or anything. A silent reminder is sufficient. If one has thoroughly done Shravanam, thoroughly done Mananam. Imagine this is, walking meditation. You're going on a walk and just bringing back Vedantic thoughts in your mind. Okay, that is why Vidyaranya Swamiji says, Hrudi iva bahya deshe api yasmin kasmin shavastuni. What should we do? From Sat, Sanmatrat, Nama Rupa Prutakkruti. This one. This is the advice on what is the practice. Whenever we see Nama Rupa, shifting our attention to Sat. And how do we have to separate Nama Rupa? Not physically. We cannot do it physically. It is only through knowledge. I hope you remember that lion in a marble. How can we separate the name and form of that lion from the stone? We cannot physically separate it because they cannot independently exist. Name and form depends on substratum. So here also, we cannot physically separate Satchidananda, Asti Bhati Priyam, from that Nama Rupa. If a person has done, sadhaka has done sufficient thinking on this fact, then it will become easier and natural. Very few verses are there now after this. One more concept will come, and then we can do Samarpanam of the text. conclusion, of this text. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. We'll take a few questions. What is the role of mind in self-realization? Since Sakshi is not an object, what is the use of mind then? It looks like mind doesn't have any use. But we seem to be training the mind for Atma Vichara. So on one hand, we say that Sakshi is beyond the mind. And on another hand, we say that we should be training the mind. So there are two aspects here. First, we can take the example, then hopefully it is clearer. It's a very popular example given by Gurudev only from his own experience. Gurudev used to, give this example where he used to say, there was a teacher who, asked the student to go and fill water from the nearby river. And the student used to go every time. But when he took that water, he realized there was a hole in that basket. But every time, he would be going because teacher has said he would still go and bring. But one day he felt like asking, teacher, every time you tell me to go with that same basket, and I realize there is a hole in it. Why did you ask me to go and bring water in that basket? They said, I told you to go because look at the basket right now. What was it when I gave it to you, and what is it now? And the student sees that basket, it's a very, very clean, beautiful basket. And when the teacher had given it to him, it was, dusty, lot of mud inside. So in second, he says, go back in that path that you had gone to pick, get this water, and see if there are if there is anything that you can find on that path. And there he goes and finds that there is, beautiful plants that have come up. Because he had that hole in the basket, every time he used to water them and come. So then the teacher said, it is only in a pure mind that knowledge can very well seep in. Only a pure mind can first understand Vedanta without coloring it with its own Ragadvesha. That is the first step. That is why we need that clean basket. And this we see many a times while doing Shravanam also. The teacher might be saying something else, but we have heard something very different and understood completely different. So Swamiji, when he used to walk with us in Sandipani, he used to ask, tell me something about morning's class. And just before that, we would have gone and told Swamiji, I enjoyed the class thoroughly. It was a very good class. And then when we start telling back, just recapping whatever we heard, then we realize a lot of things were not clear. And that is just this mind, which has to be trained more. That is why we do Atma Vichara. That is why we train the mind for Atma Vichara. And second is, those drops that had fallen, the water that had fallen on the path and beautiful plants had come. Before knowledge, we lived in this world. After knowledge, after knowing that our nature is pure consciousness and this world is only an appearance in us, we won't go and live somewhere else. We have to live in the same world. And we have to live with the same mind. So, more effort we put in purifying our mind, easier it is for us to abide in knowledge. Means Vyavahara also will go on as it has to go on. And then knowledge is there always, to protect us whenever we need. So that is a simple way to understand why both aspects are emphasized. If you want a more technical way, then it is this one. Any thought that comes, any knowledge that takes place, it takes place only in one place, that is in the mind. Now, mind, intellect, antakarna, you put it as one. Whatever knowledge takes place, that takes place in antakarna only. It cannot take place in the hand or the eyes, ears, in any other object. Knowledge of anything, knowledge of science, math, whatever you take, it will take place in the antakarna only. Knowledge of Brahma also will take place only in antakarna. Because it is the instrument in which knowledge is going to take place, we need to purify that instrument. And the difference of other types of knowledge and Vedantic knowledge, other types of knowledge will not touch the pramata. Pramata, or I hope you are familiar with these words now, we have been using it before. It will leave the mind as it is. Knowledge of other objects, other, whatever things we have, they will take place in the mind, but they will leave the mind as it is. Knowledge of Brahma, it will reveal the nature of Brahma and it will negate the mind. That is the difference. And for us to hold on to this fact that this mind is an appearance, we need a pure mind. Because even that thought is something, it is very difficult to take place. And having taken place, to do praman vichara, to have thorough understanding about how pramana works, and to hold on to this knowledge, we need a pure mind. Okay, that is why it's a safe method. We should not get into this discussion. Logically, we can prove that if mind is an appearance, why do we need to purify the mind? If I'm not the mind, then why I should take care of the mind? But all our Mahatmas have said that is a path for destruction. One Mahatma used to say with Saguna Bhakti also, the only reason why problems can come on the path of Vedanta is lack of devotion to Bhagwan. Akhandanandji Maharaj used to say. And he was a strong Vedantin, but their emphasis on purifying the mind, developing devotion for Bhagwan is unparalleled. So we should take, their precedence, what Gurudev has told us in terms of doing sadhana, but have clarity about the truth also. Both are important. Okay. Maybe one more we'll take. Do we get benefit from meditation only after our Shravanam is complete? Yes, if the benefit that we are looking for is Viparit Bhavana Nivrutti, correction of erroneous notions, if that is the benefit that we are looking for, that we will get only after thorough Shravanam is done. Means clear knowledge should be there, how I am Brahma, not because somebody has said, not because I have read somewhere. I should be able to look at Upanishad and thoroughly understand what mantras are telling me. And all doubts should have been resolved. Mananam should also have been done. Then meditation result will be right away. Because even to come to that point, right, to do our Shravanam, do Mananam, it takes a lot of sadhana for this seeker. So many things are there that can sidetrack. So many things are there which can pull us away. So if a seeker has done that much journey already, that itself shows that the sadhaka is committed sadhaka. And then the last portion is of removing those deep and inherent tendencies. Those will go away with Nididhyasanam. Now there are other methods, what we call as dharana, dhyana. Dharana means holding our attention on one form. So either you take, a symbol of Om or Bhagwan's form. Now that has its own benefit. So that won't directly remove ignorance. Focusing our attention on something does not remove ignorance about that thing. So that will give its own benefit. And this we discussed earlier also, right? That one's mind is more single pointed if it is able to stay in one place for a sufficient duration of time. That itself gives us a lot of confidence that, yes, I can control my mind. Breathing exercise that we do, prana vikshanam. This also we saw in pranayama portion. Being attentive about breathing, the breath. That has its own benefits. So each practice will give its own benefit. Nididhyasanam, when we say fundamental understanding, we should know what is the benefit. Because we are not only looking for quietening the mind somehow or the other for half an hour. Vedanta says that is the bare minimum benefit that meditation can give. Meditation should give us the strength of this knowledge that my nature is Sakshi, my nature is of pure consciousness. Whether thoughts are there or thoughts are not there. Whether world is there or perception of the world is not there, my nature is Sakshi. So that conviction in any situation, in any condition that we are in, that will get more strengthened through Nididhyasanam, and clarity about this fact of how I am Brahma will come through Shravanam. Okay. All right. Okay, so I'll note down the questions and we'll take it up next time. I see a question about what text are we going to do next, and a suggestion also about what text we could do next. This is something I feel for myself also, and all of you should think. It does not matter actually which text we are studying. Text is just a support. It's a support for us to channelize our thinking, to correct our notions that we might have had about several things. And each text will have its own uniqueness. So that we should grasp. But main point is, after studying everything about Nididhyasanam, are we inspired to do Nididhyasanam or not? You might study another text. You might study another meditation text also. So text will be only a support. It is not, the fundamental thing. What is being said in that text, that is going to be the same in all different, different ways they will come to the same point. So we'll pick a text which will have, a lot of concepts. It will have things about Nididhyasanam, about, various things which will help us in our sadhana and also clarity of knowledge. Okay. So if you have any other questions also, you can submit. And then we'll take it on from there. Hari Om, everyone. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.